My interest in gardening and agriculture, apart from being a resident of Puducherry, would always make me wonder about Auroville. At the heart of Auroville lies the soul of the township, Matri Mandir, viewed as a large golden sphere which seems to be emerging out of the earth, symbolizing the birth of a new consciousness. Auroville covers over 2,000 acres of land. As a sequel to a proposed write-up on agricultural practices at Auroville, I, along with my friend Ram Kumar, decided to explore the place. Our visit took us first to Oro Orchard, Auroville's oldest farm, which has been entirely organic since 2012. Here we met Mr. Christian, a former civil engineer from France and now full-time farmer at Auroville. He told us about Mother and her idea for Oro Orchard.
And when she realized that she wanted to create Auroville, she also realized that she would have to feed the population. She would have to feed the Aurovillians. So one of the first things she planned is to have a farm. That's very practical. And she wanted it organic, in fact. So Oro Orchard was that farm. And when she asked Gérard to become the farmer of this place, she said to him, Gérard, you will have to feed the community. And we were in '69, Green Revolution, the so-called Green Revolution was rushing everywhere. Organic farming was not known as it is now, and Gérard didn't trust him making it organic. And he said, Mother, I agree, I will feed the Aurovillians, but I can't do it organic. 2012, I was shocked by the damage caused by fertilizers and all the magical powder that they were putting in the soil. And I rushed. I remember I was in the field and I was so angry against these practices that I rushed to Gérard and I told him, Gérard, if you want me to continue with you, we move to organic. And he said, yes, I was waiting for that. In an organic farm, you cannot grow only fruit vegetables because fruit vegetables like tomatoes, cucumbers, beans are very demanding for the soil. So you have to balance these energy-taking plants by soil-resting plants, let's say. And roots and grains are plants that allow the soil to rest. Because these are plants which are harvested at the end of the cycle when the plant dies and come back to the ground. And for instance, we have sweet potatoes, we also have tapioca, we also have turmeric, a lot of turmeric. This is an old cucumber, and in fact this bed of cucumber is very interesting for the farm because it's the first time after 6 years that we reach the normal yield of cucumber being fully organic. Because cucumber was the main crop of the farm when it was not organic, and the farm used to grow cucumber on cucumber without rotation, but with a lot of chemicals. And when I stopped the chemicals, you can imagine what happened. The cucumber collapsed, fully collapsed. And that's the first time that we reached 10 kilo per plant, which is a very good yield, and being fully organic. So, and what I did is that inside the cucumber, I have planted this other plant, which is a bean. A wing bean. And the wing beans waited inside the cucumber in September, October, November. When the cucumber collapsed because it was finished, the bean shoot up and we have now the crop of the wing beans, which is there.
Could you tell me a bit about the soil? As you were saying, when you saw the soil in 2012 when the chemicals were being used and you talked to Gérard about it, so what is the difference that has come in the soil over the last 6 years?
Yeah. First, the soil here is not at all a soil for agriculture. It's a soil which is very poor. It's a red soil. Everybody knows it here. It's mainly sand, and the clay is a bad clay for agriculture. It doesn't hold elements. So it's a soil which is damaged very rapidly, which loses all the nutrients, all life, very rapidly. A bit of water, a bit of sun, and it becomes a brick. It's not a living soil. So agriculture was maintained here thanks to a lot of water, which was mainly lost by infiltration, and a lot of fertilizers. So we really put everything upside down and we took another way. The way is to nourish the soil, to provide food for the soil. When I say soil, it's not the dirt, it's the living soil. I mean the dirt plus the life. And life needs food. So we bring food to the soil, and the food for soil is mainly carbon. So it's exactly what happens in a forest when under a tree the leaves fall down on the soil. This is basically the way nature creates fertility. Plants grow, return their body to the soil, nourish the soil grows, dies, and while dying nourishes the plant. That's how it works. And when you can add animals on it, it's even better. That's what we do here with the calf and the sheep. So you can see what they are doing. They are mixing organic material, which has been obtained by shredding of wood branches. We also use the grass, the refuse from the cows. We use cow dung. We use chicken dung also, chicken litter. And we mix that, making layers. And you just let the compost do its work, and it's a living being. It does it well. So these trees have a very peculiar story, because these 4 avocados, there were 5. Unfortunately, we lost one during the big cyclone end of 2011. But we had 5 avocados, and these avocados came from fruits eaten by Mother, the founder of Auroville in 70. She had a gift of 5 avocados from Indonesia, and they were so good that she wanted somebody to take care of the seeds and cultivate the trees. And Gérard, the founder of the farm, had just started the farm. So he took the seeds, and here they are. Wow. So 48 years old.
So you get a lot of avocados?
We get, yes, each tree can give 200 kilos.
Gérard and Bithi have been managing the farm since its inception in 1969, with the aim to provide for the Auroville community. With the help of Christian and his wife Fleur, Auro Orchard now grows about 6 tons of fruits and 10 tons of vegetables, such as avocado, lemon, coconut, cashew, mango, watermelon, lady's finger, bottle gourd, tomato, basil, and many other crops every year. All the crops are cultivated without the use of chemicals. They follow organic and sustainable methods like mulching and BRF, a thick mulch technique coming from Quebec. My next visit is to the Solitude Farm.
Excuse me, we're looking for Solitude. Could you help us?
Go straight, take a right, there'll be a bifurcation, take a left.
Thank you.
Solitude Farm is managed by Mr. Krishna Mackenzie. He's a farmer settled in Auroville for over 2 decades. Inspired by Japanese farmer Masanobu Fukuoka, Krishna believes in the sanctity of Mother Earth and the need for natural farming and eating indigenous produce to bring about a sustainable form of agriculture. First, we can just talk a bit about your journey, how you came to Auroville, how you started the farm, how you started working here. And then I would love to go with you into the farm, and then we can see the work that you're doing and all the wonderful things that you're growing here.
Okay.
So if you could just tell us a bit about how did you learn about Auroville, how did you come here?
So when I was 15, I went to the J. Krishnamurti School in England, in Brockwood Park. So that was a big blessing to be there for me. It exposed me to such a diversity of cultures, and it exposed me to India. A great friend of J. Krishnamurti, Friedrich Grohe, he paid for the whole school in England and the Californian school to visit the 4 schools in India when I was 16. And I was maybe one of the only kids who wanted to learn a language. So I started to learn Kannada, you know, and Utaita, Yeli Hogbeka, all of that stuff. And it was somehow coming to India was like something very natural for me.
So how did you get the Solitude Farm? How did that come about?
So back in the day in Auroville, there were much less people, and you know, people were needed to start taking responsibility of various lands. So this, you know, by fortune or whatever, it came somehow into my hands. It was actually a group of young Aurovillians, of which I'm the last remaining founder member. And it was out of necessity to take up projects and to build them up. And what's really interesting in Solitude is I can see that everything has happened here in a very organic way. There are basically 3 steps that we've identified at Solitude, which are a road back to nature, which are part of this Purachi, if you like, you know. And the first step is to recognize that all organic matter, whether it's this the stem of this banana or this straw of the millet, or, you know, sticks of the papaya or anything else, these weeds, when we find a way to channel this bioresource back to the farm, back to the field, we start to understand that this bioresource is our profit. It's not a financial profit, it's a nutritional profit. Because when it starts to decompose, this is what happens to the soil. It starts to become like this. So this soil is alive. There are millions of microorganisms, molds, bacteria, insects, earthworms, fungi, small animals, and it's the life in the soil that is the fertility of the soil. And if you like, you could change those 2 words, life and fertility, and call it Bhumidev, you know, Mother Nature. In South America, Pachimama, Gaia. Every civilization recognized the divinity of this soil, and it was with a dynamic relationship to the soil that their cultures emerged. In this farm, there are over 100 different plants that we're actively honoring. So when I say honoring, we're actually eating, because if we understand that this soil is Bhumidev, you know, really this soil is the Mother Earth, then the crops, the gifts she gives us are a prasad. So if we eat them, the blessings of Mother Earth are coming to us. And this is at the heart of a social change, because people cannot be well on the back of an industrialized agriculture that searches only for financial gain. So you have in the middle of the garden, you have a fruit tree, which is a long duration crop. Around it, you have the sort of more medium duration crops, papaya, tapioca, banana, pineapple, yams like a karna keranga, that manjal. And then around that, again, you have more short duration crops like lady's fingers and the sword bean and eggplants, tomatoes. And then around that again, you have the very short duration crops. So those are plants that don't need to go through a reproductive cycle. Spinaches, lettuce, basil, all these types of plants that you're just getting the leaves. Now, if a farmer is allowed just to value the plants that grow easily, the plants that are relevant to his bioregion, to this season, you know, he's not being pushed to grow plants for their, you know, economic value, but because of their cultural value, because of their nutritional value. Now, as a consumer, if you would say, oh, well, I would love to start to understand that again in my life, the farmer could offer this to you and say, look, I'll teach you once a week how to grow these plants, you know. I'll even give you the seeds and the plants. I'll water it when you can't come. I'll make sure it survives. After a couple of months, you start taking the produce. And also the farmer would give you a cooking workshop, because if you've forgotten how to use the varapu or the varatanda, the banana stem, then the farmer is the one who will show you how to use that. If you don't know how to use the Thuduvale or that the sangapu, you know, this beautiful sangapu, the sangapushpa, it's the farmer who will teach you how to do that. And then you start to see that the farmer is a custodian of our culture. The farmer is not the bottom of the pile. He's the bottom of the pile because we made him the bottom of the pile, because economics has defined food in a very myopic way. But when the farmer starts to show all the things that grow in his bioregion, which come from his culture, the farmer is a custodian of a culture. He's a social worker. He's an educator. So if he had 40 of these gardens on, say, I think less than a half acre, between a quarter acre and a half acre, he can have 40 gardens. If he says to you, okay, give me 500 rupees a month, I don't ask you much. You know, it's a giveaway. But 500 rupees a month, 40 gardens, every week he's engaged with people. He's created a community around local food. He's created a network where he's offering you your most essential needs. And he's teaching you how to improve that. Probably you come with your kids and they get their hands dirty and reconnect. The farmer's on 20,000 rupees a month. Kun yenna ville nissalena terven yenna ville Anbulla kadali kun yenna ville suri anena terven kasakna yenge poven Kayirke vela se kalirke pat par anbulla kadali yenna ville Manasirke male pole wirirke wanakaga anbulla kadali kasakna yenge poven na 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 na
Our next stop is the Annapurna farm, which is Auroville's largest farm.
We have now reached Annapurna farm, which is Auroville's largest farm. And here we're going to interview Dr. Lucas, who's going to walk us through biodynamic farming. Let's go.
Could you tell us a bit about yourself, about how you came to Auroville, when you learnt about Auroville, when you settled here, and then we could talk about your work.
Okay. I came to read about Auroville very early in my life in Germany. In my youth I read Sri Aurobindo, I read about Auroville, and in 1973 I came for the first time for a visit. Then in the 70s and 80s I kept coming and going, and I studied medicine in Germany from 79 to 85, and then finally I settled in Auroville in 1988. So for the last 30 years I have been more or less continuously in Auroville.
So what was your motivation to stay back in Auroville? What made you feel that this is the place that you want to stay in?
It was the attraction of Auroville as an urban project for a more ideal society, with the background of Sri Aurobindo's concepts of his spirituality.
And if you could tell us about what you do, the work you do, and how you started doing it, like what interested you in this?
I was always interested in farming, or let's say in organic farming, from my early years in Germany. I also worked on a farm in Germany, but then it was here in Auroville. The first 10 years, from 88 to 98, I worked as a medical doctor, clinically, every day seeing patients in the Auroville Health Center. But there it was clear from the first weeks that I would like to do more than consulting patients. Then by 1998 I had started so many programs in preventive medicine that I had to make a choice to continue those programs or to continue seeing patients, and I made a choice towards the, let's say, the public health, community health side, and dropped the clinical work. So from that time onwards, the last 20 years, I've been involved under various teams, now from 2007 onwards, with my company EcoPro, in programs and projects of environmental health and public hygiene. And this would include programs on sanitation, on wastewater treatment, on wastewater reuse, on organic farming.
Could you please tell us a bit about biodynamic farming? What is it about and how is it practiced?
So one characteristic of biodynamics would be these specific preps. Another characteristic would be the observation of rhythms, of cosmic rhythms beyond the seasons, beyond the rhythm of the sun. They respect the rhythms, different rhythms of the moon and even of the zodiac. And then another characteristic would be the integration of cattle or domestic animals in general, which is essential. Another characteristic could be that the diversity again, the diversity expressed, for example, in trying to recreate different ecosystems into one farm, but of course that depends on the size of the farm, what is possible.
So these farmers, have they adapted these practices into their farming?
We have here in the two districts, Viluppuram, Cuddalore and Puducherry, we have several hundreds of farmers who have been exposed to our training and have seen a little bit of practice and demonstration. A few have taken up biodynamic practices. None of them is a fully transformed biodynamic farmer, but most of them realize or understand to some extent the potential benefits of these practices very easily and are happy to use them and integrate them into their farming practices, which is the most natural thing to do.
EcoPro, started by Dr. Lucas, is a company that practices organic farming methods, in particular biodynamic farming and the use of EM technology. He also emphasizes the importance of lunar rhythms in agriculture. Now we will see a demonstration on biodynamic farming and the making of horn manure.
இந்த பயோடைனமிக் ஃபார்மிங்கில் வந்துட்டு பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா கொம்பு சாண உரம், இந்த கொம்பு சாண உரத்துக்கு வந்துட்டு இறந்த பசுமாட்டோட கொம்பு ப்ளஸ் வந்துட்டு பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா பால் கறக்கக்கூடிய இல்லை செனமாட்டு சாணம் தான் வந்துட்டு ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். வந்துட்டு இந்த சாணம் வந்துட்டு பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா இந்த செனமாடு இல்லைனா பால் கறக்கும்போது கிடைக்கக்கூடிய சாணத்தில் வந்துட்டு பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா அதிகப்படியான சுண்ணாம்பு சத்து வந்துட்டு நிறையவே இருக்குது. ஸோ அதனால் வந்துட்டு பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா இந்த கொம்பு சாண உரத்துக்கு இந்த சாணத்தை கலெக்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறோம். இதனுடைய வீரியத்தன்மையும் அதிகமாக இருக்கும். இதில் இருக்கிற நுண்ணுயிர் பெருக்கங்களும் நமக்கு அதிக பயனுள்ளதாக கிடைக்கும். நமக்கு இதை வந்துட்டு நம்ம இனிப்பும் புளிப்பும் கலந்த சுவையாக இருக்கும். இதை வந்துட்டு சுகாதார மேலாண்மை, விவசாயத்துக்கு, கால்நடை வளர்ப்புக்கு, மீன் வளர்ப்பு, இறால் வளர்ப்புக்கு, ப்ளஸ் கழிவுநீர் சுத்திகரிப்பு பண்ணுறதுக்கு, குப்பைங்களை நம்ம கம்போஸ்டிங் பண்ணுறதுக்கும் வந்துட்டு இந்த ஆக்டிவேடியம் பயன்படுது.
And lastly, we meet with Mr. Thomas, who is the manager of Annapurna Farm.
It was a piece of bare land, and very, very slowly we built up the farm. It took us 32 years, and we are probably about half finished now. So still lots to do.
And this is it is the biggest farm of Auroville, isn't it?
It's the largest farm of
It's the
Auroville,
largest
yes.
farm.
Yeah.
So what is the main produce that you grow here?
The crop is basically rice, paddy we grow, and we are growing some fruits, and we are doing dairy. Besides that, we process all the grains, and we also process dairy products.
You're saying you also produce the cheese and yogurt and everything, right?
Yeah, basically this farm is a farm which produces food for Auroville. Right. That's the idea behind it. We are quite far away from Auroville, about 10 kilometers away from Auroville center. There are smaller farms in Auroville which produce also milk and products. So we see for us it makes sense to process our products, which is easier. It kind of makes more sense, and Auroville needs cheese, needs paneer, needs yogurt. So we take care of those products. So we have a small cheesery, a cool room, and we kind of process most of our dairy products.
The organic farming practices by Dr. Christian, views of Mr. Krishna Mackenzie on the sanctity of Mother Earth, biodynamic farming concepts as explained by Dr. Lucas, go on to make me realize that these great citizens from abroad have by their presence enriched the ecology, culture and the soil of Auroville. It reminds me of what the Honourable Prime Minister had said during his visit to Auroville in February this year. I quote, "May Auroville be the guardian which calls for breaking down of narrow-mindedness and continue to celebrate unity. May Aurobindo and the Mother continue to guide you to the eventual fulfillment of your lofty vision."